Welcome to the Eagle Eye Podcast, the #1 show to bring you all things Club America and English.
Oh, what a strike! Club America!
Your hosts for today are Ivan Pineda, Cristian Rosendo, Alexis Juarez, and everyone's favorite cowboy, Dylan Jimenez. Go! Now let's hit the field and start the show.
America!
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Eagle Eye Podcast. Today, we're going to be recapping that 3-3 exciting draw against Santos Laguna. And then, of course, we're going to be previewing ahead of the Clasico Nacional. And joining me today, we have a full panel. Everyone that works here at the Eagle Eye Podcast is talking today in regards to all things Las Águilas del América. So let me get this roll call going. Let me introduce none other than New York's favorite resident, Cristian Rosendo, and, of course, Brooklyn's very own AJ. Gentlemen, how are we?
We're doing pretty good. I've been doing pretty good. What a game we just witnessed. Definitely probably not the game we wanted to have right before the Clasico, but, I mean, there were some pros and cons. I'm sure we'll get into it, but I'm happy to be here with the whole team.
Nice. I gladly agree with that. AJ, how are you?
Doing good. Last night's match, quite a lot to talk about in that one. But other than that, really happy to be here. Always talking everything Club America.
Definitely, and we'll get into that, and we'll talk a little bit more about exactly what went down at the Estadio Azteca against Santos Laguna. But let me shift directions now to the middle of what is the state. Not the state, excuse me, the country. Let me introduce the return of our beloved Cowboy. It is none other than Cowboy Dan himself, Dylan Jimenez. How are you, my friend?
Ooh, we're doing good, man. Glad to be back with this new format we're doing. So it gives me a chance to be on, maybe not twice a week with y'all, but once a week at least. But no, I'm excited. I'm ready to talk about this America game. Definitely,
and we're excited to have you back. I know you've been on the request list for quite a long time, and we were very happy whenever we were able to restructurize the podcast to know that we were going to be able to count on you. And like I said, that's the fun thing about it, and glad you're on here. And now, finally, over to the West Coast side of things, let me introduce Chris Rivera. Chris, how's Anaheim treating you?
Good, man. The weather's cooler now, so less headaches, less being in a bad mood. Just enjoying the weather.
Well, a little bit in a bad mood because of how things played out yesterday, I would imagine.
Oh, well, yeah, but the way it ended kind of made it better. But yeah, definitely not in the best mood because of it.
Well, let's jump right into it, gentlemen, and let's talk about it because there is plenty to break down from here, and I don't want to take too much time out of you guys' hands. I'll start off here by kind of highlighting exactly what Tano Ortiz said in his press conference after this 3-3 draw. He said this was kind of a slap in the face, kind of a realization of what was to come. And Dylan, we were talking about this earlier before me and you, before we started recording. Me and you were alone here in waiting for the rest of them, and you kind of had a very interesting thing to say in regards to that.
Yeah, so I remember a couple episodes back too, whenever I was listening to y'all. Y'all mentioned that either the Necaxa game or the San Luis game would be trap games for this side, and maybe they'd get like a little bit of a humbling. But that never really came for me, in my opinion, and so that's why yesterday, a couple days ago, I was listening to the podcast, and whenever y'all are getting your predictions. That's why I texted y'all and I said, "Oh, this is going to be a draw. This is going to be a 2-2 draw." I kept thinking to myself, like, this is the game. If anything, is going to be the trap game for this side. This is going to be a bit of a humbling. And sure enough, even though I get the scoreline right, we did draw, and it was a pretty bad game overall.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a very well-rounded. I would argue our worst game since the streak started. But eventually, Christian, you mentioned that all good things must come to an end, and at least it came to an end in this fashion, right? It wasn't a loss. But, I mean, what do you take away from this? I mean, we're still unbeaten, quote-unquote, in 10 games. I mean, this draw has a little bit less of a, good taste than, other matches. What's your takeaway from this?
So like I mentioned previously, all good things must come to them. But like you said, though, we're still undefeated over 10 games, so that's a good sign. Another good sign I think we need to take away is that America knows how to respond. And when under pressure, when everything against them, they still find a way to stay in the game, to keep it competitive. Because even after Santos went up 3-1, we were still pressuring, we were still attacking, we were still getting good looks. It's just that we were not shooting on target. I don't know which one of you guys sent the tweet at halftime that said we had 16 shots and only 4 were on target, compared to Santos, only 6 and 4 of them were on target. I think that's something we have to work on in these next 2 days, because I honestly think that we could have probably scored 4 or 5 goals if our shots would have went on target. A couple bad games from a couple people. I'm sure we'll get into it a little bit. But overall, I like the composure of this team and the way that they don't give up.
Yeah, I think it speaks volumes of the mentality, at least, and something we spoke about on the podcast regularly here, AJ, was that mentality of these players, knowing that their feet are very grounded. And Tano Ortiz even mentioned it, because one of the reporters kind of told him, he was like, "Well, is this slap in the face like a justification for you guys to put your feet back on the ground and kind of stop being on cloud nine?" And Tano's response was like, "No, the players have always been grounded," and he's like, "And to show you perfectly, the response was there. We were down a couple goals and the fight was still there. So the players will look for it till the very end." But he's like, but it is a true kind of, it basically, I think he was trying to say is it was much needed, something like this, to kind of put in perspective that, look, we are maybe the best team in the league at the moment, but there are teams that will compete against you. And if you sleep off or if you switch off for just one moment, they you will suffer the consequences. So, I mean, your takeaway overall, AJ.
Really good that this team responded back. There's a name that they gave us for a reason called La King de la Remontadas. They proved it right here. It's one of those instances where, as Thanos said, that no, this is needed for this squad, because there's going to be at some point in time where you're going to be down by a margin of goals. Now your duty as a player is, what can we do to come back from this? The coach is going to have the tactic, but it all comes down to the players. If the players cannot execute it, then that's their fault, really. The coach gave the players the details and the plan needed to do it, and America got it done. Happy that this team could fight back. Yes, it was really sloppy. You could even say in this case, once again, a tale of two halves. We just were not looking like ourselves throughout the first 45 minutes, despite dominating possession and shots. But at the very end, America responded back with goals that were needed in order to keep the streak going. And all in all, really impressed with how America responded at the very end of the match.
Agreed. And Chris, right there, AJ alluding to it, and Tano Ortiz even mentioned that he said the game plan was there. It just, the players didn't really execute it. But he said that's football. If there isn't mistakes, then there isn't any goals. But at the end of the day, what was your takeaway from the way that these players played?
Well, it reminded me of the talk we had. Maybe it was last podcast, maybe it was two. I don't really remember, but where I asked you guys, do you guys believe in the what my uncle tells me? Sometimes it's better to lose before you get into Liga. Obviously, this is not a loss, right? We save a point, but it does feel like, oh, we're human, right? We're able to have these games, which is good. The game, it was sloppy, and it shouldn't be sloppy. Like, to me, it's not much of what Santos did, but what we didn't do, and that's the good. I look at it from a good good thing, right? Because for me, it's like, okay, now we're going into the Clasico with, okay, we have to polish this up, and now we go into that Clasico not with this like we're playing perfect. There's nothing we could do wrong. Now we're looking at it like, all right, we can't do what we did on Saturday, because it's gonna get very ugly for us if we don't polish this. So now you have something to fix and something to work on this weekend. I mean, this week leading up to this Chivas game.
No, 100%. I agree with that aspect. There's a lot to be polished. And let's just kind of go through this. I mean, originally, when the lineups came out, you thought, okay, perfect. It's the same squad, it's the same team. And it's originally, you thinking the team that's probably going to be playing the Liga, minus a couple of players, of course. So let me just read out the lineup. It was Ochoa in goal, Layun, Araujo, Cáceres Fuentes, Richard Fidalgo, and Valdez were the midfield trio. Sendejas, Cabecita, and Henry were the ones in charge of doing everything up top. And you thought originally, okay, this is probably our best lineup with minus Miguel Ayun, right? Which I think we can all agree is not our best player. But aside from that, you thought, well, this is pretty much the starting 11. You thinking go out there, get some minutes under your belts and continue to do what you guys have been doing all season long. And that's dominate and perform from the get-go. And actually, Santos flipped it on us. They actually got the punchline right away. They actually hit us first. I mean, they scored a tremendous goal, right? Leo Suarez hitting us not just once but twice with La Ley del Ex. But it was a good response too from America, like you guys mentioned, and Dylan, I know you were talking about it too. Whenever the game was going on, it was impressive to see the response was just in a minute, and that's exactly what you wanted to see. And I think, again, the response wasn't terribly after we conceded the second goal, but the issue is that we did concede a second goal, and I think that's what ultimately is the issue.
Yeah, and to me that says a lot about the team in some ways, because we know once they get hit with that adversity, they can respond, and which, like I said, we did, which is good to see. But this team got hit kind of in a sense with a lot more levels up of the adversity, especially going down 2-1. They've kind of never really been in that situation when it comes into in terms of the streak. And then going down 3-1, well, it hit another level of adversity. Granted, they were able to pull out the draw, but I feel like the adversity was like a bit too much for this side to handle at times. That's why it got sloppy.
And Christian, you mentioned it. Excuse me. It wasn't a good game for a majority of these players. I mean, the main one, notably, was Luis Fuentes. I mean, you can't be sucked into the play that much, knowing that you have literally your ex teammate, which I'm pretty sure you played a lot of time against in practice, out so far wide. And then other players too that come to mind. I don't think we saw the best performance of Cabecita Rodriguez. I think it was an off night for him. Again, Miguel Ayun giving us a lot of questions to doubt. Sendejas, a player that so regularly has been performing for Americas, is another player that was not doing well. I mean, do we just chalk it off as an off night?
I mean, you kind of have to. Like you said, this is probably the best 11 we could put out there in any given match. But like you said, also, we have to give credit where credit is due. And I think Santos really did come out with a good game plan, knowing that we are a little weak at the beginning of the game. San Luis almost capitalized when they played us, and they almost scored. Well, they did score, but then it got called off. So it was good to see the team put the test so early. And like you guys mentioned already, the Henry Martin goal right after was a good response, and shows me that it doesn't matter if this team is down a goal. They'll chalk it up like it's still 0-0 and keep playing their game. Unfortunately, though, Santos did manage to implement their game plan, and that's where it got sloppy. And then that's where you saw, frustrated players like Sendejas, Fidalgo, Fuentes just making mistakes they don't normally do. And it just caught up to us and eventually leading us to be losing 3-1 at one point in the game. So I think we need to take this game and just really analyze it for what it is. Like you guys said, we are human. Now we know we're human. But this game could serve as a good example of what not to do in certain situations.
Yeah, no, it should be definitely analyzed very well. And I think that Ortiz said that they were going to very much, talk about this game in practice beforehand and kind of just talk about certain points and then move on, because you don't have the luxury of sitting back and dwelling on it, because you have the Clasico Nacional in just a matter of 2-3 days. So for America, it has to be a quick turnaround. And I think they understand that they were very below expectations. But I think overall they have that gratitude and that satisfaction that we keep mentioning, that they were willing to fight and claw a result again, which, like you mentioned, speaks volumes of what that dressing room is capable of doing. But again, it's things that you need to understand. And, maybe if we go back and we look at a couple of games where maybe we were winning and but we still are making kind of eerily similar mistakes. I mean, Asia, we've talked about it too. Defenders leaving players unmarked and being, turned their backs to. Emilio Lara with Gignac, and then you see Luis Fuentes with Leo Suarez. I mean, it's situations like that you're thinking, well, we got to fix these small little mistakes that could potentially be avoiding goals that wouldn't even go in if your defenders properly doing their job.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's moments like this where the defense is your last line of defense. Ironically enough, you cannot be affording to make such simple mistakes like that. Those simple mistakes can alter the entire game completely, where it could just change the whole mood of the team. Whether the team could be high ground, they could see that one goal, they just never seem to recover. They just lost it from there early on, like those two Leo Suarez goals. completely Luis Fuentes had no idea where he was at. And everyone knows that while Fuentes is great defensively, he lacks that pace. If a team is on a counterattack and he's caught off, of course they're going to send it to that right winger to have him run down the wing and cut in to see if he can get a chance. That's what Leo Suarez did in those two plays in the exact same area. What happened? First one, Fuentes got caught off. Three American defenders tried to get Suarez. Didn't even work. They just gave him that liberty. The second one, that was on Fuentes. You had Richard Sanchez thing trying to defend, which I had no idea why he was all the way down there. Ended up scoring the same exact way. It's unacceptable. And then that third goal by Preciado, while Joy did get a hand on that ball to make a save, there was no other defender that could at least block that shot from there. So Preciado was able to get the rebound with ease and just put it back in. Moments like that, we have come back in situations like this. If you could think of like the Pachuca game from 2 seasons ago in the Liguilla, we've mounted comebacks like this. But you don't want to have this every single time. You don't want to have the plan where if you're always conceding goals, you're going to be like, oh, we already know. We've been in situations like this before. You don't like to be like that. You always want to at least be in a game for 90 minutes where you're dominating and consistently having the other team gone where they can't do anything. Because that's what you want. That's what you want your home team, for any team that you're a fan of, to do from the get-go. Just dominate throughout the entire match. Never to be behind at any point in time. Which is what America did again for what it is the worst game of the season that we could say so far. We got the draw luck, thankfully. But we definitely, Americans, don't want to see this again, especially with Liguilla right around the corner.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I mean, Chris, any other takeaway? I mean, that third goal was something else. I mean, I think Fidalgo thinks he gets fouled and he just kind of stops right there, which I think even he said it afterwards. He said, I shouldn't have done that. And then, of course, the shot, which Ochoa parries away. When I think I was talking to Dylan about this. I mean, I wanted a better parry, and AJ too, but the follow up there, no defender was actually quick to the rebound too. So it's just faults all around the pitch, really.
Yeah, Lion was just watching that too.
Yeah.
The ref was horrible. I think we should bring that.
Oh yeah, we should have gotten a penalty, by the way, too.
Yeah, that was clear penalty, and the fact being that we have VAR for a reason and it was not used, I'm like, so it's just there. We
and
have all this
still want to
technology.
say that we have the refs in our pockets.
Well, that's the frustrating part, right? Because it's like you can't even have a serious conversation with other fans because it's like right away they start bringing up BS, right? And it's like, look, bro, like that's an obvious hand. Obvious. You can't even say, oh, where is he supposed to put his hand at? Like, you can't even say that. It's a clear hand. And that's a penalty. We should have won 4-1. Or maybe we would have even tied 3-3 because it would have been, maybe we don't even go for the other goal, right? But either way, like, that was, the ref was already not, and the players were telling him early on, like, hey, you're missing calls.
Yeah, no, it wasn't ideal from the ref's perspective. But again, you can only control so much, right, in a game, and you can only do your part.
The objective is not to get caught up in all that. Like Fidalgo did pretty much for the whole game, and I think that's why he had one of his worst performances this season.
Yeah, and we were just, alabándolo. What was it? A podcast ago saying that he was by far the best player in America.
Yeah, I know, right?
And
it's the podcast jinx.
Proceed unfortunate events, and look what happened.
But the thing that I like about him is that he actually, like you said, Ivan, he went out. He said, "Listen, I probably didn't play well. There's things I could have corrected. There's things I won't do again. It's just to take this game, learn from it, and move on because we have Chivas on Saturday."
Yeah, gotta play the whistle. That's the only.
I read they ignored a lot of the Chivas questions too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they did. They were trying to get them to say something spicy. Didn't happen.
Smart on the players.
They're not trying to get involved in that. Yeah, they're not trying.
They just want to go out there and beat them 5-0. That's it.
Yeah, that's what they want to do. They're like, we rather talk on the pitch than with you.
Exactly.
Which I think is, again, speaks highly volumes of what this squad is and the mentality and everything going on and around. But, kind of finalizing this Santos matchup, you were right, Christian, in the sense that Santos played a very good game. And what worries me is now other teams will go and analyze this game and say, okay, we know how to go up against an America side, right? But if you realize that if you're just able to not switch off so quickly in the game, and, because we talked about it at San Luis, we talked about it now with Santos, we're getting sucker punched right from the beginning. if you're able to close that down and play your game, which by the way, America did, and you mentioned it, AJ, Tales of Two Halves. I'm trying to look at the stats right here. We had a total of 70% ball possession at the end of the day, 29 shots, only 8 of those being on target, but still, it's pretty decent numbers. Right?
Yeah, but then look at Santos's shots on target and the shots that they had. They were
had
more.
13 shots and also
They
8
were
on target.
They're
better.
just more consistent.
They were more consistent in their shot taking.
But again, it goes to show that America can still run their game, especially at home. So it's just tweaking those little instances, the defensive part of things, which again, we were highly alabando this team because we were giving them praises of being such a very well defensive side, which by the way, I don't think after those 3 goals, we can be considered the best.
No, yeah,
defense in
I
the
think we
league.
dropped to like 4th.
Yeah. It wasn't good in that aspect. But I mean, overall, you check it up to one of those games where you're just like, yeah, it had to happen, it had to come. And Dylan, we spoke about it, rather this one than Saturdays. So
Yep.
it's a good way of kind of transitioning and going into the league and having that mindset that okay, we got to switch it on. So we'll see what goes from there. And then also something to notate that Christian said, it was the battle of goalkeepers. Acevedo by far was on fire yesterday. He performed very well. Ochoa had his saves here and there, but I just knew with everything going on in and around what is the Acevedo, the El Tri, and everything. I felt like he was gonna have one of those games, and unfortunately, I was right.
scored a banger, and Ochoa blocked that. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yeah, in the second half,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Oh my god, if that went in, bro, the families
Lights
were
out.
hooked. Ochoa.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone would have gone off on Ochoa because that would have been. It probably wouldn't even been justified. But god damn, bro, that block was crazy, and that's like the second game in a row where he had this crazy ass save.
Yeah. Hey, I'm liking the orange kid. I haven't seen him play in the black
The
one
carrot,
yet, but
the
yeah,
carrot
but
kid?
Carrot.
the carrot kid's growing on me, and I'm not a big fan of orange though.
Yeah, I like it too.
So it's growing on me. And
This is
those
some of
are
the
the
Locho
gloves.
vibes. That's why
I'm just happy he gets to use his new jersey instead of the old one.
Yeah, it's like later with 3 games left in the
Yeah,
season,
for
they give it
real,
to him.
Have the girls used it? AJ?
AJ,
Wait, what
correct
up?
me if I'm wrong, but the last game did Macharelli used the last season still, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the ladies had a break, and then that's when Ochoa started using his. So, because I saw that the under 20s, that goalkeeper was also using the carry kit. So, I'm assuming the ladies when they play again, which AJ, remind me when that is.
Their next game is going to be. It's starting in this weekend. They're gonna play on Monday against Rayadas.
Okay, so whoever's the starting goalkeeper will end up using the carry kit, I'm assuming as well. So,
Please.
but yeah, you're right. It's nice for them to all have their kits lined up and adjusted there. But anything else you guys want to take away from this game? Obviously, it was a better
Do you
sweet
guys
result.
know what happened in that clip with Valdez saying something?
Oh,
to someone
it's
on
a
the
lot of people.
pitch?
A lot of people were saying. A lot of people were interpreting stuff. Some people were saying that he was like, "Oh, don't pass the ball to Layun again" or something like that.
I mean,
You guys want to talk about that?
I mean,
I don't know what it was. Like, I can't. Like, when the first camera takes, it looked like he was talking to Sendejas. But
That's
then,
what
if I rewatch it a couple more times, Sendejas is just running. Like, he's not turning back or anything.
To the NSL, supposedly they were arguing, but from the videos I've seen, I don't even know who he's talking to. It looked like
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's no like clear video about it.
What I'm gonna say here, if someone's saying they'll pass the ball to Layun, we're gonna say that. Who was the one that made the second goal happen though with the cross? I think it was literally him
Hey,
that crossed that into it. He crossed that in. It
We're
either
avoiding
went off
it.
of
No.
regardless.
No, hold on. You know that video that guy from TikTok makes every time America plays, and it's like the Dragon Ball Z parody.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So for that goal, he was. I think the caption was like Layun's 468th cross finally made it into the box.
But will Layun's cross go in? Tune in the next episode, Dragon Ball Z.
I thought that was hilarious. I was like, oh yeah, because I was watching some of the highlights too, and it was like some of the crosses he was trying to do, I was just like, oh my god, you know.
Yeah.
And the shots too, he had like a couple outs right outside the box, literally no defender in front of him, and he just skies it.
There was a play where Valdez gets foul tackled. It's a really good position. And Layun, instead of kicking it, could have just left it alone. But he thinks that he's gonna score top bins with his weaker foot, and so he skies it. And I'm just so mad at the TV. I'm just like, bro, read the room.
You think he does it intentionally?
I don't know, dude.
God.
Nah,
This
man.
point, I don't know.
I just
No. Not to shoot. Like continuing to shoot. Obviously, he's not. You're probably not trying to like blast it into the stands, but does you think he like knows like people on Twitter? Because the first thing he does after a game is go on Twitter.
Yeah.
And
He
Yeah,
talks
what's the
a lot
problem?
on social media.
That's his problem. Part of it.
I don't know, but I'll take Jurgen Damm at right back right now rather than I take Layun. And they're both pretty bad at crossing. So.
Unleash la bestia.
Hey, bro, I need that Ronaldo celebration. It was not.
Facts. I need that Saturday night, bro.
Here, I'll put it on here. If we make it to the final, Jurgen Damm's gonna score the winner, and it's gonna be that celebration.
Imagine the scenes.
I will literally see.
There will be no Jurgen Damm slander. There will be none.
Oh man, but overall, 3-3. We'll take the point, hands down. I think it's better than having a loss, and then you just keep taking from there. Anything else you gentlemen want to add on?
Plus Viñas. Second goal of the season right there.
Second goal of the
That
season,
Fidalgo cross into the box, heads it home. I didn't even celebrate. I was just like, oh my god, we actually.
And it was a
did it.
really, really good finish because Acevedo was glued to
The crazy
his.
part, it was his anniversary since he joined the
Right,
club.
Yeah,
His
it's a
100th
100 game.
Was it third year, 4 years? How many years has he been in the club? 4 years? 3 years?
For
Three.
who?
Three.
For
So it was
Viñas?
like he scored in his debut and he scored on his anniversary. It was pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
That's
Perfect. And we'll take it. We'll take it. So yeah, bless Maraviñas, and hopefully he can continue to score. He'd be a great impact sub if he just found his form.
Please.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, look what he did on
he
his
did it
debut. That's the kind of vibes that I need from him, or I need him to manifest that. That'd be great.
Let's hope we can keep going about that. But
And
overall,
honestly, they don't play bad together, honestly. With Henry and Viñas up top. Like, in the game, in the situations like that, I 100% support something like that. Because you know how some people play two up top and, like, they kind of, get each other's ways
balance.
and, like, they make the same runs and like this and that. But they're actually, they're pretty good actually together.
I mean, his best year was when they played. Piojo played the 4-4-2. So he probably feels way comfortable having someone.
Yeah, someone to like make little passes here and there, connect and go. We'll see though. But I much prefer the front three of Cabecita, Henry, and Sendejas to start. That's just me though.
Yeah.
I think we all agree on that vote. I mean, they were tearing it up until obviously the aforementioned yesterday. But again, we'll get that out of our minds, and I think America has already done so the same. They've practiced today with the return of Emilio Lara at practice. He looks like he's set and ready to go for the Clasico Nacional. And so America Fuentes, injured. He what?
Yeah.
It was a calf, I think, injury.
So he's out for the Clasico.
Well, they said they're just looking. I don't know if was it calf? It was calf, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that he's injured. But
I saw
that's all I know.
On his calf, so I assume it's a calf injury.
If he doesn't play, how big of an impact is that to our defense?
How much do we trust Chava Reyes? Yeah.
Chava is at the go, and at least there's like more pace in that category, so we don't have to worry as much as getting counterattacked. But that's also up to Chava if he can try to find
something that Luis Fuentes is very underrated in that I think a lot of people kind of is actually are his runs. His overlapping runs are very well. He understands his role
for his
very
age.
good. Yeah, and
Aguilar wasn't doing that at this stage.
No,
he wasn't doing that.
No,
like you know, does it as much, like at least from a successful standpoint.
Yeah, and also he's a very good passer of the ball. I'm not gonna lie. I think he has some pretty good, distribution. So
I think Chava can cross too, though.
Yeah, he can, but I don't know. It's just I don't know. We'll see. Of course, I back Chava Reyes to do a good job against Chivas, right? Will Fuentes be a big miss? I don't know. Could be, could not. We'll have to wait and see exactly what happens. But I don't. Do you risk your starting left back for a game like this?
Considering there's only
Two
two
games. I
games
mean,
left
this
in the
game. No,
season, and
this
then we have
game,
a
and
long
then
break.
I
I
mean,
think
yeah,
I
you need a
would.
long break.
I think I would, but depending how serious it is, right? If it's like this, like
If
I'm
it's
50
like you can play, you shouldn't play. I think you play. But if you really can't play, then don't play.
I get if at most you could give us
You know what
70,
I mean?
65
Yeah, yeah,
minutes.
yeah.
Yeah, I would.
It's because I don't want to. I don't want to play him and then have to utilize a sub in that
Because he
department.
gets hurt
Yeah,
even more.
or because he's only good for 75 minutes or 62. You know.
Honestly.
I don't. It could be. Oh, well, Chris, you okay over there?
You Chris,
Yeah,
you,
my
you,
bad,
you
my
never
bad.
turn the
I thought I was
music up?
muted.
I'll
Huh?
turn the music up, don't worry.
No. It's because I thought I was muted, so I moved something. My bad.
You want the brick wall again? I'll put the brick wall up.
My bad.
Oh man! All right, gentlemen, let's move on to the Clasico Nacional. Let's talk all things Super Clasico. Obviously, it's the biggest game of the season, and what at one point a lot of people would say was determining the season for both teams. Right? It was you can't lose to Chivas, and for them, it's you can't lose to America. We've been spoiled over the past I'd say 8 years to always be the ones usually on top of things. But this one seems a little bit different. Both teams are coming in pretty hot. Well, aside from their mid match games, right? Chivas getting a little bit humiliated at home against Tigres, and then America, of course, being a little humbled by Santos. But I still think that there is something here to be played for, more than just 3 points. Obviously, we always talk about the Clásico Nacional being more than that, right? Bragging rights, history, everything that comes along with it. But overall, this is an America side that is doing really well. This is a Chivas side that, as much as I don't like admitting it, has picked up their form and are doing a pretty decent job. So could we potentially be looking at a 3-3 back from 2005, Christian?
Oh man, that would be a heart pounding game to watch, which I don't really wanna go through again. So I'm just gonna say no. But I do agree with everything you just said. I think both teams are in good form right now. Despite whatever happened last games for both teams, I think this is gonna be one of the better games we've had in recent years. It's not so clear cut that that we're gonna win 100%. I do still fancy our chances, though, especially at home. And I just think we gel better as a team. So I do like our chances, but it's not going to be like a walk in the park. And I don't think it ever is.
It never really is in these situations, Dylan. It's always you're going out there and you're looking for blood, and they can't be yours. So, I mean, how are you looking at this America side, especially after what happened midweek?
I'm looking at this side, and like we kind of mentioned, like I think some of these players know that they didn't play up to the standard that they've set whenever they went on their nine game winning streak, and so this team is going to look to get back to meeting that bar and meeting that standard that they've set, because it's a pretty high standard. I mean, obviously you look at the institution and you know what this institution standard is week in, week out, but I feel like they've kind of elevated it a little bit, and I'm hoping for big games from obviously like Zendejas too, especially playing against his former club, and then obviously looking for Cabecita to bounce back. Just other players too.
Definitely, and I mean, an opportunity, right, to right a lot of wrongs here. Especially, I'm looking at Fidalgo as well, AJ, after making that mistake. But overall, it looks to be a very good matchup. It looks to be an exciting one. And knowing very well the Americanismo and the culture, especially spending your time with the Porra, you know that these are the games you look forward to in the season.
100%. Every time it's Super Clasico week, everyone always gonna hype it up. You got friends, family. They can even be like fans of other teams. They're always gonna be the ones after the team is done. They're like, I'm gonna take a look at the Super Clasico. Want to see what this edition of it's gonna bring this time around. It's a game that's always talked about in Mexican media, in the States, and even around the world when you think of Mexican soccer. It's a game that's heard around the world. Look, I feel this edition of the Super Clasico might be the one where there might be more hype around this time, considering that both teams are starting to be in form. Especially as well, it's going to be the battle of head coaches who were originally interims Ricardo Cardena coming from Tapatillo, and then Tan Ortiz just coming from the U20 to then take over to the for the first team. So now these two's gonna face each other for the first time and see who's been doing the better job as head coach ever since they take over. So this Super
And
Clasico round, really excited for this time around.
oh yeah, definitely. And both coaches kind of with the similarities of all these international friendlies that got in the way, and then because of that, we're both in the hot seat of potentially losing their job because of the poor results. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of similarities in this one, Chris. But I mean, overall, you fancy the chances, like like Christian mentioned, for us. I mean, what's your takeaway coming into this Super Clasico?
I'm confident because of what I saw Chivas struggle with against Tigres. To me, that goalkeeper got exposed, and I think that our forwards, our attack is just gonna. I know you. It's the last thing you want to do is jinx things, right?
Yeah,
But you just look at you hear. I'm sure. I mean, I know you've seen this, but they
yeah,
were
I
saying
seen
that
that. Yeah,
Guacho is better than Ochoa. I know you've seen those
yeah.
narratives from. So for me, it's just one of those things where it's like I want us to completely destroy. Not even from just a rivalry standpoint. I am very confident that our offense could expose a lot of things this Saturday.
Yeah, and let's talk about that as specifically. And one thing I do want to know is I read this on Twitter too. Our good friend Miggy, he said, tweeting about it, he was worrisome that both teams were coming into it with very good form. That he was worried that they were not gonna want to overexpose anything. And it was gonna be a little bit of a snooze fest. But given what happened to both of them midweek, I think now that's off the table, and they both have to come out showcasing something. So on that end, I think it's safe to say that we should have a good game. Um,
Both teams showed that they have a weakness.
yes,
Now it
yeah,
just
Mhm.
depends on who has the players to capitalize on that. And for me, like I think we have the players. Now, do they have it? I don't think so. I think it's just Vega and other guys. If I'm just being honest, I think everyone in Mexico looks at Chivas like that. It's Vega and everyone else. So
yeah,
if we're able to like keep Vega in his place, I do think that we're gonna be a very successful team this Saturday.
and that might be up to Emilio Lara to take care of, right?
Yeah, and
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 that is,
and, and he got to rest. He got to
yeah,
rest this week, so it's even better. Like from that standpoint, right? He's fresh and he's shown throughout the season, even in the friendlies, that he's capable of any player.
And that
Such a good
kid
player,
eats, sleeps, breathes Club America. So
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's like
it's gonna be fun watching him this game.
so is Emilio Lara gonna do to Alexis Vega what Chris's profile picture is looking like right now?
if that happens, brother, I would get a jersey.
That'd be
So
iconic. That would
Yeah,
be
you gotta
iconic.
make that. That's why everyone's new profile picture on America
Exactly.
Twitter. It's gonna be exactly what it is.
That's gonna be the perfect Aguilas out of context picture. I'll tell you that much.
Nah,
Yeah.
yeah, he had Emilio Lara first flicking his he had Emilio Lara flicking his tongue at first. Now it's gonna be that one. The out of context, he
Yeah.
ends up punching.
So I mean, let's go with potential starting 11s here, Christian. Give me what Tan Ortiz is gonna come out with.
Yeah, I think we're gonna go with the preferred 11 at Ochoa and net. The back four will be, well, we don't know if Fuentes will start, but we'll just say he's starting, right? So we'll go Fuentes, Nestor, Sebas, and Lara. The three in the midfield is Fidalgo, Richard Sanchez, Diego Valdez. Up top we have Cabecita on the left, Sendejas on the right, and our striker La Bomba, Henry Martin.
Which is one goal away from Nico Ibanez, who has 10 right now.
Correct.
Henry has 9.
That's correct.
And Henry loves himself a goal in the Clasico, so
He's one of those
looking at it.
players.
He is. very much
We've
so.
always had one of those players that always scores, and it's funny because you always hear the comparison between him and Peralta,
Mhm.
and that they're both players that love scoring on Chivas and other Clásicos too.
Yeah, like Henry, I always thought was a guy who loves to score against Pumas, which he does. But looking back over the years, man, that guy loves himself a goal against Chivas too. So,
Yeah.
and he likes himself some pretty good goals as well. So, and I know Dylan will attest to that. And I'll throw it back to you, Dylan. Besides Henry, what player do you think is going to be key going into this one so we can execute the game plan and walk away with the result?
I really want to see Fidalgo step up a lot more. I know, like we kind of mentioned, after the game we talked about, some of the mistakes he did, some of the things he wished he did different. I think we all agree that this was pretty much an off night, but I feel like from his perspective, he kind of runs a lot of things, runs a lot of the show on the pitch, and so I really want to see him step up this time around because I didn't see it enough for me against Santos. But yeah, I'm looking at Fidalgo a lot this game.
Definitely, I agree. I think he runs a lot of those strings that America needs to be pulling in order to perform to a high caliber. Chris, you mentioned that America was exposed in regards to the Santos game to showcase, our weaknesses. What are you looking at now for America to kind of tighten up and then do correctly in this game against Chivas in order to look like a much more solid team?
When you said the starting 11, I wouldn't really be surprised if we see Aquino start because of what we saw on Wednesday, right? Getting like you guys pointed out, they attack us early. Like that's the first thing teams are gonna do. That's what the Chivas is gonna look to get the ball and attack right away, get us when we're barely waking up. And I think if you have someone like Aquino who's able to be more defensive, be more recovering the ball, I could see Aquino starting this game. And I think that's the key thing to do is not let Chivas be explosive early. Let us have the ball. Let us be explosive. Let us one thing we need to not do. Well, here's the thing. So I seen someone say before our yesterday's game, right, that the way to beat Chivas is to shoot more at the goalkeeper. But after yesterday, do you want to see America shoot that many times? And that's a question.
I mean, only if it's on target.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
target,
it could have just been an off night for shooting, but to say we had 29 shots,
And only 8.
and only 8 on target, that's kind of a bad night. Now, let's say we had 15 on target, 17, 18. Now we're talking like, okay, now we're just dominating. We're steamrolling them at this point.
To me, that's the game plan that we're going to go into. We're going to start seeing Fidalgo shoot from distance. We're going to see Valdez shoot from distance, Sendeja shoot from distance. Everyone that's from the outside is going to shoot from distance, in my opinion. That's the way you're going to beat it because Wacho Jimenez got exposed against Tigres. And if we're able to, like I said, we have the offense to even make it worse for him than Tigres did. So for me, that's the game plan going into this game is attack. The goals are going to be there. If we simply attack and it's on target, the goals are going to be there. And I'll give you guys my prediction because of that a little bit later, but it could be a very high scoring game.
All right. Well, Chris is already alluding to another 7-0 for America. We'll get back to that in just a second. AJ, although Chris mentioned it right that we need to be able to keep Chivas off the ball, have that ball possession, which by the way this Thanos side loves. We're a very ball possessive side, not talked about enough, but it's because I think America does it in such a good transition. The midfield and the defense doing their job is going to be key as well. I think you're going to have to be able to hold it down in order to produce something up top.
Yeah, no. Defense, gonna need to not leave too much space. I can't have this, especially after that Santos game. If it's wingers as well, if they're able to expose our fullbacks, whoever it's gonna be, whether it be if it's gonna be Layun on the right or Lara, I hope really it's not Layun, but if it is, well, left and the left back side, if it's gonna be Chava or Fuentes, please try to stick to your players. I understand the game waiting for that counterattack. You need to stick with these players because they know that when you have guys like Alexis Vega, Saldivar, or Piojo Alvarado, those guys are pacey. They definitely could take on defenders and beat the defenders with ease. And if you give them too much space, they're going to punish you. That's what I do not want to see. That midfield is trying not to make too many mistakes. It's trying not. I need no one in that midfield to have an off night, especially in a game against Chivas. These guys gotta be at 110%. You need to step up in the big moments, and they really cannot try to see them messing up too much on their passes. If you got a shot on for you to take that shot. I want to see plenty of the shots coming from the midfield, especially since I feel like that's gonna be one of the key points that we're gonna need to do in this game against Chivas. but make sure those shots are on target. Cannot have another off night. I don't want to see too many of the fans getting freebies from America with their shots taken, with the ball taken home. Don't need that. No one was enjoying that. But yeah, no. All in all, they need to step up in this game as well. It's against your rival. It's against your most hated rivals as well. This is for bragging rights. You gotta show who's the better team at the end of the 90 minutes.
Yeah, gotta showcase exactly why we are the biggest team in Mexico, and not argue in the world, but that's just me. But okay, let's talk predictions here. All right, Chris, tell me why Jurgen Damm's job as the pyrotechnic of the Estadio is going to be quite busy on Saturday.
I think it's gonna be a 4-1 game.
4-1.
I think they do hit us early. I just think just the last two games, right? I feel that that's just gonna be one of those things. But I do think as this game goes on, you're gonna see America adjust. You're gonna see America pressure. You're gonna see them move forward. And like I said, Watcher got exposed. There was a lot of people from that fan base that were already saying he needs to be the starter at the World Cup. He needs to. He's already better than Ochoa. He's a lot of things. He's better than Acevedo. A lot of things that I'm sure all of you saw it. Like I'm not making this up. And to me, once Tigres exposed that, and you look at we're better. We're offensively better than Tigres this season, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think their defense is not gonna they have a good defense, but I don't think they're gonna be able to stop these goals, these shots. So I have a scoring 4, and I do think they do get one in, but it's gonna be an early goal.
Okay, interesting. That's quite the tide of turns. Christian, what is your prediction for Saturday?
Something similar. I'm going 3-1. I think that we can hit them early, actually. I have this game going a little bit different. I think that America's not going to make the same mistake like they did against Santos. I think they're going to try to dominate the game from the get-go, not really getting any chances. We'll go up early, somewhere in between of the Clasico. You know how Clásicos get, right? Back a little bit back and forth. I think they'll get one, but ultimately we should win this comfortably.
All right, I like it. AJ, give me your prediction.
Let's go 3-0. Want a clean sheet in this one.
Why not?
That's why
I love
like
it.
Why
I
not?
love it. I love it.
I'm going back with my old narrative when I first joined the pod. 3 nils everywhere. Please.
All right, I like it. Okay, Dylan, what's Cowboy Dan giving us for his prediction?
I'm gonna go with the barn burner, but America comes out on top 3-2.
3-2? Is that what you said?
Wow.
Yep.
Oh God, yeah, that is a barn burner. But it is quite the game. I'll give you that much. At least for the entertainment perspective side of things, especially for a neutral, a 3-2 result, I'll take that. Either way, 3 points is all that matters. But hey, I like it. I enjoy it. Well, I guess that just leaves my prediction. Well, my birthday's on Sunday, so of course this could be the best actual birthday gift for me would be America to win. But not just that, I want, getting real picky here, but I want not only a goleada, but I want a clean sheet, right? That's two very difficult things. So I'm not saying this is necessarily going to happen, although I would love it if it did. And I think it would be absolutely the cherry on top of everything. And I know people are going to come out here and they're going to criticize me and they're going to roast me and they're going to kill me. And when the game ends 1-0 to America, they're going to be like, well, where was this energy? But I'm going with an America 5, Chivas 0.
I respect it, bro. I respect it because I see it, and it's a classical, right? It's a classical. Like they always say, it doesn't matter where they're at in the table. It's the most important game of the year in Mexico. It's the most passionate game when it comes to the fan base, even the players. So I understand that maybe it won't even be like how we're saying it. But on paper and how I'm envisioning it, and like I said, their weaknesses just fits our strength. So I that's why I said 4-1. And Christian, you made a good point. It is possible that we just go in there and score early. It is possible. I could see that. Maybe the one goal that they score is like later on. But there's a lot of ways that this game could go, and it's probably the best thing that could happen for this Clasico because we cannot say that for many years.
Yeah, no, that's true. It's 100% true. But overall, look, we're just expecting a good game, a good back and forth. How many fights are we gonna see on the pitch, guys?
Hopefully, at least 2 or 3.
Hopefully,
I'm down to see a couple fights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some pushing and shoving here and there.
It's fine. It's a Clasico. It happens.
Yeah, you're gonna have a really hard foul.
The real question is, how many fights is Lara gonna get into?
Ooh. You know he's gonna start at least one.
My man is definitely.
He's gonna be a hothead like Edson.
Does he do it? Because I mean, Vegas is
hothead like
in the
him.
national team.
Yeah, but I mean, it's
Nah, he doesn't care about that. He doesn't see that. He sees
Right.
only 2 colors,
Yeah.
yellow and blue.
You're right.
So, and
He's gonna
then
be seeing a
It
bunch
should
of
be a
red
fun game,
though.
though. I'm excited.
That game. He's gonna be seeing a bunch of red.
as long as he doesn't get a red, I'm fine with that.
Please
That's
don't.
all I care about.
Yeah, but
I cannot have that.
We're gonna see at least one red.
one red.
see
yeah.
one red.
one red.
We'll see. How
I'll see a red in this one.
Then their fan base is gonna be crying after the game.
yeah.
Which fan base though? That's the
And
question.
and the red card is gonna go to Ochoa.
Oh, hey,
Let it be in the 90th. Let it be at the very end.
Yeah.
it's funny that the
When,
last,
when we're already up 5-0, like you said.
Yeah. I'll take that 5-0 clean sheet, and he gets the red card. I'll take that.
That's shithousery right there. He
Yeah.
does a little celebration at the end. That'd be nice.
Which, by the way, guys, if America does win this game, we do secure first place. So that is
An extra motivation on top.
an extra
Is it?
motivation, and if Monterrey loses or draws,
Yeah.
Okay.
which again is another motivational factor for America, like you mentioned, Christian, right? So.
Mhm.
So make sure you guys are ready for the Clasico Nacional. It's going to be this Saturday, 6 p.m. I originally thought it was going to be at 7, but no, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8 Central, 9 Eastern. So it's prime time for you guys. What time's the Canelo fight?
I was about to say it's probably because of that.
11:30, 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
So it's about 9 o'clock our time, right, Chris?
Yeah.
So, because I thought originally it was just going to be the game, and then right after that, the fight's going to be going on.
Maybe
but
that's
no,
why they
it's gonna
pushed
be-
it
Yeah.
earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably might be the case, but a lot of things going on this Saturday. But the biggest one, obviously, being America versus Chivas, and so again, hopefully our Águilas can come out on top in regards to that aspect. A lot more stuff to talk about next week in regards to the America. Right, we're going to be having quote unquote an international break, an off week for America, but we know that's not true. Wednesday we have Nashville, and then of course Saturday we have, you heard it right, another Clasico Nacional, but this time in Atlanta. So it's a weird time for America here, where you think it's the last 2 games of the season, and it's not. We still have quite a bunch more to fit in. But gentlemen, anything else you guys want to add up before we wrap it all up here?
Unbeaten streak started when I started wearing my Centenario. So
Yeah, and since you started calling America what?
El Mame.
El Mame. That's a good
El
take.
Mame.
That's a good note take right there. And gentlemen, anyone else wants to add in to anything? I don't know if we could top that, to be honest.
Yeah, I know. That's
Yeah,
Dylan
that's
takes the
un-
cake
yeah,
like
that's
always.
unbeatable. Yeah,
He
exactly.
does. Yeah, he does.
If we win, the next podcast name is gonna be El Mame.
El Mame, yeah. El Mame. That's what we're calling it. So looking forward to that. But okay, gentlemen, let's wrap it up here. Thank you so much for all of you for taking your time out of the day. It was nice to have a full panel, talk all things America, and talk all things El Mame on here. So looking forward to doing it again next week. And again, excited, hopefully, that we can walk away with a good victory on Saturday at the Azteca, and we'll talk more, I guess, then. Thank you to all of you guys who've been showing us support on our TikTok page over there. We've been more than gracious for all your guys' feedback and support, and for all of the Americanista community that is over on our Twitter and Instagram as well. With that said, you guys have a wonderful time. Please be safe and take care. And as always, Arriba America. Good night.
Ladies and gentlemen, this was another production of the Eagle Eye Podcast, the #1 source for all things Club America in English. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Eagle Eye Podcast and get all the latest news and coverage. And subscribe to our podcast wherever it is you may listen.